Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Trailblazer of Light. Looking forward to tell you a little bit more of my story. We left off last time with my accident, and I totally missed so much of the first parts of my life when I was out in Oregon, because that really was where all the terror also started. Um, so I'll start with that. I was 24 years old, and I drove all the way out to Oregon with my two kids from Maine, and we was staying there with my uncle. And I actually had quit drinking for 3 years while my kids were going to school, and I wanted to really be there for my kids. And when I went out to Oregon, I didn't know how to meet people, so I figured I'd go to the bars. And so I picked up drinking again, and I met this guy at the bar, and he's the one that introduced me to crystal meth. And in that experience, um, he is very abusive. He literally would smack me around and this and that. It was a very abusive relationship, and he cheated on me. He just wasn't a very healthy person, and I know he had some of his own issues going on at the time, and I didn't know any better, so I stayed in that relationship with him for a year, until it got so toxic that I needed to really get out, and basically he met another girl and got out that way by going and getting his next person. Um, so in that relationship, the the toxicity of it and abuse and the alcoholism and the drugs had started at the age of 24, pretty heavy. And so I didn't have any place to go to. So my kids and I were sleeping in my car, and I was homeless 9 times in that year, looking for places to stay with my kids outside of living in the car. And so it was very toxic for the kids as well, because I was still using and still going to the bars and finding babysitters that probably weren't the healthiest. And so um, I did eventually quit the crystal meth, but the drinking did continue, and I thought I had found some friends, but it wasn't good, and they took my car and they sabotaged it, thinking I would sell it to them. Sorry about that, I had to pause for a minute. I had somebody that didn't want to be videoed in the video. So anyway, back to what I was saying about the quitting the crystal meth, but being homeless 9 times in that year was pretty reckless and crazy behavior. I was very naive in a lot of things. Um, anyway, so then from Oregon, I moved back to Maine, and then met another guy uh, who wasn't as toxic, but towards the end of the relationship, it got toxic again. I did pick up drinking, but I didn't pick up any other substance, you know, drugs at that time, and everything was good until it wasn't, and that lasted 5 years. Most of my relationships last 5 years, and then they all go to hell. I don't know why that is, but that's the way it happens. So then I moved. That's when I moved to Illinois, and then again went to the bars to try to make friends, and all the wrong places and all the wrong things begin to happen again. And they say in AA that no matter where you go, you follow, and that is so true. I was never healing any aspect of my journey. I was just moving from one state to state, or one place to place, and so nothing was ever getting better. It was just all recycling, just a new face and old behavior, and so attracting the same type of men because my picker was puckered, as I said, and um, so then my accident happened, and my fiance, I found out, was a closet drinker and wasn't emotionally available for me to really take care of me. So I had my uncle drive me back to Maine, and I did kind of get things together, but it was really bad because I had a traumatic brain injury now, and I couldn't take care of myself, never mind my two kids who are now teenagers. And so I lived with my mom for a while, and she treated me like one of the kids, and so there wasn't any room for me to be a mother. I was just basically my kids' big sister. And so when I did get my place, they didn't listen to me, and it didn't go very well when I got my own place with my kids, and um, things got really crazy there. My daughter started running away, and I had to give my son to my mother because I couldn't take care of both the kids and dealing with what Kayla had happened. And she left and she moved to Georgia with my sister and her uncle, and so I truly felt abandoned and rejected at that time. And my family was no better. Nobody ever called and checked up on me to see how I was doing. So I'm battling all this stuff by myself, my head injury, my pain body, trying to figure out skills and tools, and I've got nothing to work with. And so even in the Bible it says going around that same damn mountain over and over again expecting different results. And I that's what I was coming up against the wall every time. And so I won't share my daughter's story and I won't share my son's story, but my story as far as my kids go, I really love them. And it took 17 years before I got to see my daughter again. My son would come around and he would sit there and say, you, and I'd be like, yes, you're right, I'm sorry. And it was always the same vicious cycle with him too. So I eventually stopped dragging my knuckles and going around in circles and just had to end the relationship with both my kids because it was the you. For my own mental health and safety of my own well-being, I had to draw a line in the sand, and that's when I started getting better and started healing because I started choosing myself and started choosing to move forward and not be pulled back into the past of yesterday's. And so I eventually started going to AA meetings, and I really liked it. There were people there that were just like me. I could finally identify with people who could identify with me, and I became a huge part of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, at that time. And I did every job in that program, and I stayed inside the circle, and I didn't go outside of it. I started sponsoring women in the program and helping other women, and which helped myself because you freely give away what's been freely given to you. I did the 12 steps of the program. I finally surrendered and I gave it to God. And as I surrendered and I gave it to God, this student of myself, the teachers would present themselves and appear for me. I did go back to college. I graduated with high honors with an associate's degree with a 3.89 GPS, and that is amazing all in itself because I have a traumatic brain injury and it's short-term memory loss, and so I have a hard time remembering things because it doesn't go into long-term. um, my kids would sit there and say, "Remember when?" And I'd be like, "I don't remember that," and that's kind of sad and stifling there. But I did. I graduated with A's and B's and got my associate's degree in social behavioral science. And I celebrate um, 20, 21 years of being clean and sober May 9th. And uh, yeah, um, I was in this cycle, another cycle that I was in. Um, but this time it was a good cycle. I was a queen of my own castle, and things were really going really great. I was going to AA meetings. I was going to the gym. I was eating right. I was healthy. And two, um, I prepped myself, and I had a trainer, which was another guy that I met. He trained me to do a 5K race, which I did do, and I believe I came in like in the 20th spot of out of a lot of 100 people. So I did really well with that. It was a recovery marathon, and I was pretty proud of myself with that. And so after I had started being a queen of my own castle, like things were so good, but so boring. um, I was taking care of my dad at the time, my papa, who I totally love and adore. And during this whole time, also, I lost my mom, and I thought she might be my pickup drink, and she wasn't. I got through that too with the help of AA, but I lost my papa. He was the last of everybody um, that I had come to find comfort and solace and communication with. And so when he was gone, I had nobody. I was truly an orphan and all alone. And so I decided to uh, start saving some money and thinking about a plan of what to do with my life at this point. Because I'd done the college and I got the sobriety, and I had really good spiritual aspects underneath my belt with the 12 steps of the program. And so I was just talking to God and asking him where he wanted me to be, because I didn't know what my purpose was. And so I just happened to be going to the store after going to the gym, to the sauna. So I was like really relaxed, and this car came up 40 miles an hour while I was stopped and hit me. And so I was rear-ended and ended up getting whiplash on top of the broken neck injury that I already had. So I had a lawsuit, and during that lawsuit and everything that was going on, my papa passed away. And so um, my future was wide open, and the opportunities were endless. And so I got a phone call from an old friend of mine, and he said that he could go out to Oregon, back to Oregon, and stay with his mom. And so I said, yeah, I can do that. And then I transferred my housing out to Oregon, and everything was freaking great until it wasn't, because now COVID happened. And just as I was getting all my stuff, transporting it out to Oregon, and got my housing out there, and COVID hit, because I was like, well, when I get out there, I've got new tools on how to pick up friends without going to the bar. I can go to AA meetings, I can go to the gym. I was on a pool league, which I'm really good at. I'm a good pool player today. Regardless, I do it one-handed because I got the partial paralysis in the left arm now. And so I do a lot of things one-handed, and I'm pretty good at it, better than some people that have two hands. And so anyway, so I thought when I get out there, I'll be really good, at making friends and new opportunities and stuff. But when I got to Oregon, everything was shut down. The gyms were shut down. um, Pool halls were shut down. Everything, AA meetings, all of it. It was the gym, all of it was just shut down. So now I'm isolated, and I'm out in Oregon, and I thought I could find some friends that I used to have back then. Of course, they were crystal meth friends, but I had found out some people had, you know, moved on and grown up from that experience too, and had spiritually had experiences, but I couldn't find them. And most of the ones I did try to find, they had either moved or were dead. And so I really was all alone now again, and isolated from everything. And then the Black Lives Matter started in Portland, Oregon, and they started coming into the town where I was staying at, and it got pretty scary because they were lighting fires. And so if you know anything about Oregon, you have fires there already as it is. So I was in the center, and I mean in the center of 5 fires, and I really didn't know what to do. Uh, but I also had become a nanny at that time. I did pick up, a gentleman found me and asked me if I wanted to be a nanny in order to be able to go and to be able to adventure with him and his daughter. But he needed a nanny, and I was like, yeah, I'd do that. And so I went and I stayed with him because I was scared, because I didn't know how to get out of anywhere and just face one fire and just run right into another. So I went and stayed with him for a while, and wasn't until she says, "Okay, Blondie," like, "Shut up, Blondie," and I was like, "Excuse me." So I left that situation because the disrespect had started. And so during this time, like years prior, I had messaged a sweetheart that I had loved. I would have. He was my kids' dad's best friend, and I loved him. And I friended him on Facebook. And while I'm out in Oregon, like 2 years ago, I had friended him, and 2 years later, while I'm out in Oregon, he friends me and says, "What you doing?" And I says, "Well, I need some help." um, I could use some help getting back to Maine. Uh, the fires here, and he said, "Well, come visit me first." And so I flew out to see him, and it was just that heart pitter patter, and I had fallen for him all over again. Um, and so he said he made all kinds of promises, and made all kinds of things, said all kinds of things that were exactly what I needed to hear. And so I flew him out to Oregon, and we drove a U-Haul with my car behind it back to Maine. And during that time, like I said, I hadn't seen my daughter for 17 years. And we stopped in Georgia, and it was just the greatest experience. Us just beside myself to see my daughter again. And so she was married. Uh, she was doing really good for herself. She wasn't using or no drugs, just a good mama, and she had gotten her life together. Her husband was pretty amazing and awesome, and so I began a relationship with my daughter, because prior years I was unable to because she was not healthy. And so when I went back to Maine with this guy, um, things really started getting really bad. And so I'm gonna save that next part of the story for another time. So if you've liked anything here, it's helped you at all, please like, comment, and share, and add me if you will. And again, go forth and sprout.